Alright everyone, welcome to week 3 of building Wellsworth, and I'm actually surprised we got a week 3, at least in week 3. I thought for sure I'd have to wait to what would be the 4th week of me building, but would be deemed our week 3 in our building series. However, I took the little bit that I recorded for what was originally going to be week 2, and I had a little time to work on some more stuff, putting together I think a solid building for week 3. I'm not sure how long this video is going to be, mainly because I have some time lapses in there, as you'll see, and then I'm also going to, oh, that's my phone. Sorry about that. But we got some time lapse in there, and then I worked on some other stuff, and I actually tried to make sure I recorded while I was building, not here's what it looked like before and here's what it looked like after, or here's just what it looked like after. This week you'll see we're going to look at the switches and some track, how I go about my straight track ballasting, and my first attempts at ballasting switches. So without further ado, I don't have much more to say other than let's jump in right now. Hey everyone, so as you saw kicking off this week, I had a little time lapse of me putting together 2 sections of ballast track. I would have gone ahead and time lapsed the whole thing, but it takes me almost 10 minutes to do a single section, so I only recorded 2, so it probably gives us about a minute-ish of time lapse, and then I'm going to go ahead and build one, or at least most of one here with you all. Pretty much I'm going to do, I'm going to say the complicated part right now, and then I'll just briefly talk about using a finished piece of track, what is left and what I am not doing. So first of all, again, this is just going to be for the straight track. You got your regular section of track here. I use these 4x4s in dark bluish gray, 2x4s dark bluish gray, 1x2s, 1x4 tiles, and 1x1 tiles. Now the tiles, they are options. I've seen people use dark gray, I've seen people use black, use brown, use dark brown. That is up to you. That is your choice on what you want to use to ballast your track. I use brown because in my head it's more accurate. Some people use black, and I don't know if it's because it looks cleaner. Because don't get me wrong, it does look good. Just for me, it's not accurate, especially for what I'm trying to recreate. Or if it's cheaper, I'm not sure why people go the other color routes. It's probably just preference, but for me, I go the reddish brown. So we're going to start off making the base level. In the base level, all you got to do is take your 4x4s and lay them along the side here, making sure one row sticks out. I apologize if you hear me, I'm a little stuffed up this morning. It just happens to me every now and then. So, there we go. So that's the first bit. Now I usually fill this in with random plates, or I don't. Because the next part, I take my 2x4s and fill in these gaps. What that does is that pretty much A, holds everything together, and B, again, pardon me, puts the everything level here. Now, you'll notice I have these gaps here along the side. That's where your 1x2s come in. You just fill them in. I know some people will probably be able to just see what I did in the time lapse, but I figured since it is a building series, I should probably take the time to walk you through it. So this is the pretty common option. There's slightly variance in plates people use depending on how much you want to spend and what you have available. So then that'll cover everything. Oh, one more. Then you take your railroad ties, or railway ties, wherever you're from. I kind of say both. Between growing up in America and growing up and watching Thomas the Tank Engine as a kid, I kind of have come to terms using terms from both sides of the world. So you can see here, you're just going down the middle and you're separating them out. Now it doesn't matter what end you start on. It doesn't matter how you start it, whether you put the tie at the very end on one end or another, because at the end of the day, when you connect everything together, you'll just make sure your next section of track has ballast, not a tie right there. Then you can assume we're going to go ahead and put the tiles along the side, lining up in the same spots as, again, pardon me, I'm really stuffed up this morning. I do apologize. As the center ties, I'm not going to go ahead and get picky right now for this one, but I'll sit down and kind of make sure they're relatively straight. Now, they don't have to be perfectly straight, obviously, unless that's you. And I've seen ways, I think Brixie, he's a Lego City YouTuber, he kind of shows a quick, easy way to make sure everything's kind of even. I'll just go through by hand when I do it. Right now, I'm just trying to pop them all on real fast for you, because otherwise, like I said, this section of the video will probably be 10 to 15 minutes, and I don't think you want that. Now, as you can see, this pretty much looks like a full or completed section. All we're missing is the actual ballast, quote unquote. Here's a finished piece of track. As you can see, all I have left to do is add studs of various colors. I use the round tiles, and then in light or medium gray, medium stone gray, tiles and studs, and then the dark bluish gray studs. For me, since I'm replicating from the series, I've noticed that most of the ballast is actually would be the light, or the medium, sorry, I want to say light gray, but medium stone gray color. And that would be fine, but in Lego, it just comes off looking, I'm going to say bad, even though that's not necessarily the word I want to use. Adding in some of the dark bluish gray just mixes it up, adds some variance to it. And as you can see, majority of the plate is actually using the medium stone gray. But I choose to add in that little bit of dark bluish gray to add in some variance. And it looks great. So I hope you enjoyed this little bit of a segment showing you how I go ahead and do it. Again, I'll go ahead and straighten some of these up. And I don't want to take time to show you how to do this. You just got to randomize it. Every section is going to look different. I'll even show you this one. Probably see some minor variations between them. But it's all, you know, and being random is not as hard as I thought it would be. I actually have a harder time being random when it comes to vegetation than here. You kind of just go with the flow, and since all your track can connect to another different track, you know, I don't have to connect this piece with this piece or this piece with this piece. If I look at this one and say, oh, well, I noticed I have a whole bunch of dark gray or dark bluish gray down here for some reason, and then on this piece of track I got a whole bunch of dark bluish gray too on this end for some reason, I won't have to connect them. Sorry, I'm sitting behind the camera. I went from the side but behind the camera. I can, you know, twist them all around. So I will say that's what makes these track sections very enjoyable when you ballast. Just have fun with it. It's going to be a long process. Like I said, it takes me about 10 minutes to do one. I think it took me about 5 minutes to put just this together. And again, it takes another 10 minutes because though randomizing is not as hard as I thought it was, it still takes a little strategic thinking. I hope you enjoyed this part of the segment. We're going to go ahead, move forward talking about the point system and the switches and the curve, which is a little different type of ballasting that I've never tried before. So let's go check it out. Just a couple moments ago, we were looking at the straight track. I got a section right here. We're not going to worry about that. Showing you how to do the straight section, I think it's pretty straightforward. No pun intended. They're very easy to do. A lot of people, there's still many ways to do it. But as you saw, it's very simple. Now we're going to be working on the points as well as one of these curved sections. This was an old design I was working on, which was working, don't get me wrong, but with the way I decided to design the mock, this one won't work. If I went with my original idea, how everything was going to be a plate up and then the track and the ground level would be on it, it would work, but now it's not. So as you can see, kind of, I went ahead and I did the base work on the straight section. I had to get a little creative, which I think is to be expected. You can see a couple different plates used underneath. Just find your combination of plates and it'll work fine. One thing you gotta note with these points is it's not gonna be perfect. You can see there's a gap there and a gap there, and you'll be able to see kind of on these plastic sections, you're not gonna be able to get an even level of plate, and that's just what it is. Either maybe your train will cover it, maybe there'll be enough ballast and stuff around you. It's not gonna matter, but either way, I'm working on these points. That's what I have so far. Next, you'll see is I'm going to be tiling underneath. Anyone who's messed with Lego trains before, especially in a more permanent setup or even a display setup, probably has gone through this, and you might know more about it than I do. This is the first time I'm doing this, so I'm just kind of having a go at it, seeing how it'll work. But this is going to be our next section for a little bit. It's going to be probably, as of right now, in the full build of everything I've done, the most technical aspect of it all. Is it extremely technical? I'm going to go say no. I'm going to put it in like the medium category. It's not easy, and it's not hard by any means, but it does take a little bit of messing with and a little bit of time to look at and plan out. So we're going to be working on that. I'll show you an update here in a little bit as I build more, but I don't want to show you it on camera only because it's going to take a while. It's going to be a lot of, try this, take it apart, try this, take it apart. I might time-lapse it, I'm not sure. But you'll find out in a couple seconds as we move on to the next part. Alright, so I'm checking in here. I put in probably about 2-ish hours of work. I actually went to bed just after I recorded the last part, so this is a new day. Go ahead working on stuff. I'm going to lift up what I can here. I'm leaving it separated for now, but probably could have uncoupled some of this extra track down here, but I don't. So as you can kind of see here, I'm working my way. I'm just tiling it all. By tiling it all, it'll allow me to put plates in here. You can see where it connects right down there. And a lot of the light gray that you might see like here and whatnot is going to get either covered by something else or filled in. Moment, I'm still working my way down. This is where this little stick out's going to be. Unfortunately, there's nothing I can do about it. What I'll probably do is put the signal like right here, so it kind of not necessarily obscures it, but it blends it all in. I just want to give an update on the process. I went ahead, I think I talked about this earlier, got that all put together. I might have added in a couple extra bits, but I'm going to go ahead and bring this down, so hopefully next time you see it, it'll be done or close to done. Something I still got to decide, and we'll talk about when I get to that last little bit that follows this. If I fill this in right away, this part of the ballast, or I leave it to the end, because if I got to keep picking it up and moving it for whatever reason, like you can kind of see here, there's enough, I guess, tightness and enough friction in there that the parts are holding there. But I don't want to go ahead and lay that all in here, rip it all up for some reason, and then try to play, put a puzzle back together on where everything goes. But I think it's looking good. I just want to give you a really quick update, and in a couple seconds, you should see, if not the final product, very close to the final product. Alright, so here we have the final stages of what I've been working on, I guess that's the best way to say it, for the switches, or at least this one switch. I'll be doing another one right where the camera's pretty much at. I have another switch or set of points that are going to be leading into what would be Wellsworth yards, but due to my space, I'm not building Wellsworth yards. I put this on a stand, or the camera on a stand, just because it's going to be easier. To make sure everything fit right, I ended up having to connect everything together But when I lift it all up, I'll pick up the camera and show you everything. You can see it's all complete, and you pretty much get to see everything that needed to be tiled. Now, like I was saying in the previous quick segment, all the spaces between the track sections, as you know, with the Lego track, they have like 2x8 little, I guess we'll call them ties, railroad ties, that are represented in the mold. And in between those, I will find a way to fill in those gaps. But the tiles here get rid of the light gray underneath. I'll go ahead and pick the camera up so you can see there. And that's where these are where the two straight sections go. They actually just drop right in. Everything's to the same level. So while the ballast is connected directly to the straight track, on the curves and on the switches, or at least part of the switches, their ballast is mostly kind of done onto the plate directly. So if I drop this back in here, just like that, nice and snug. I do have a little bit right here. You see I got to find a 1x1 somewhere and a 1x1 tile here. But for the most part, you can see it looks pretty good. Obviously, detailing needs to be done, like for these sections. But the hard work, or I guess the groundwork, is done. And that's one of the big things I wanted to kind of show you this week. This is the first time I've ever done curved and switch ballasting. As much as I'd like to be able just to build all the ballast onto the piece of track itself, and I'm sure you can find those elsewhere who've done it, I just find it easier, at least for me, my first time messing with it, to build it to the base plate. Now that does mean for anyone who wants to build other kind of displays, that means when I'm done with this one and I want to use more curves and switches somewhere else, when I make that build or that mock, I am going to have to do exactly what I did here over and over. But overall, I don't think that's too bad. Especially, I think, if you just use curves, it'll be pretty standard. The switches are the hardest to do, in my opinion, because when you get back here on the where the actual kind of mechanism is, it's not, the bottom's plated over and kind of covered because that, like I said, it's got the mechanism inside, so you can't attach anything, or you can't attach it to plates. So it's got to sit on top of tiles or just studs. Overall, though, I'm happy with how this looks. We're going to go ahead and end out the video for this week. I'm not sure where this is going to put us. Probably at a medium to long video this week, but we're not expecting to do a week 3 in the 3rd week of building. I planned on waiting to taking a break. I think this is pretty good. So let's go ahead and end out the video. Alright, so that was week 3. I want to thank everyone for watching, who has watched. I hope it was interesting, because I'm pretty sure we're going to be skipping week 4 or next week and doing week 4 the week after. Reason being is this week I have a full week of class, as in it's a prerequisite class before fall classes start. I believe I talked about this last week, and it's a lot to do. Like I'm there for 8 hours, and then I got to come home. I got to upload some stuff to our website. I actually got to look into some extra certifications and stuff. So I think it's just going to be easier for me, though I might get some building done. I don't think it's going to be enough to fit into a week 4. That being said, I do know what week 4 is going to be. I'm not going to tell you just in case it does change, but in my head, I have it all planned out. As you saw, we did get to ballasting, and I think it went pretty well. I apologize for being stuffed up in the one part of the video. Whatever it is, when I get up in the morning, I'm always a little stuffed up. It's just what it is, and that's the only time I had to record that a little bit. So I recorded it then and there. No one was home. I had a few hours before I had to be somewhere. So it was just a good time for me to do that, even though I sounded a little nasally and stuffed, as I've said. I want to apologize for actually earlier in the intro, my phone went off. I don't think that's big of a deal, but I want to apologize for that. And I think we're moving along pretty well. I do have to make an order, so with that being said, I'm going to make the order. However, I have a buddy of mine I just talked to today. He had to borrow some parts from me for a project for his sister-in-law. I don't know what the project is. I just know he had to borrow some parts, which I was more than happy to give him, especially because I wasn't using them, and I had a lot more of them than I thought I had. So I gave him those parts, but I'm gonna have to put in some orders. And he said it took 2 months for his order to get in from Pick-a-Brick. Now he's probably ordering a lot more parts. Oh, there we go. I apologize for my phone going off in the beginning, and it just went off again. But he said it took him 2 months to get his order. So I'm going to go ahead and place mine here probably next week when I'm not busy with this class, this prerequisite class. And then I'm going to, I'll have to make another order after that. This order is going to cover some last of the station parts, some of the back wall, hopefully. Maybe not. I'm not 100% sure. Because I have it built up and I've been modifying it. I've been getting parts, but I do need to order in more plates. But I think I'll order in more plates, like tan plates, when I order in stuff for the signal box. Because the signal box, as I said last week, is not going to be that color. Though that's a really good prototype for me to look at. I might even take that apart for several reasons. One, if I build this other signal box, I want to put all my effort into that. And if I do keep a signal box, this one or the other one, it's definitely going to be the other one. That way I can keep something from Wellsworth, and it'd be kind of fun. I like to do that now. Any building series, I do try to keep a small section of it. Blade Ridge, there was really nothing I could keep from that. I mean, I probably could have tried to hollow out and kept that explosion, but not a big deal. Before I start rambling on, we're just going to end it here. Like I said, probably not a video next week, unless all of a sudden, like, well, I guess that's weird because I got a video coming out this week, which will be my busy week. But I guess that being said, is I won't have time to do more stuff during the weekend. I don't know what my weekend's going to hold. So it's up to me if there'll be a week for next week. However, I'm trying to upload some small Star Wars builds. I know a couple days ago I put up just a slideshow, and I think that's what a lot of them are going to be, a slideshow of a little Order 66 mock, so I hope you enjoy that. And whatnot. So again, before I ramble anymore, I want to thank you all for watching. As always, in the description of the video is my username for Instagram and my email for YouTube if you want to get a hold of me there. If you want to contribute and you want to talk to me, I really recommend Instagram. That's the best way to contact me. Because as we get later on into the video, I might have some questions that I'd love to have answered, and I'll probably ask on Instagram. But as always, I want to thank you all for watching, and I hope you're enjoying this building series as much as I am. I love Star Wars, don't get me wrong, but doing something from my childhood, doing something that actually saved my Lego career, we'll say, or saved my Lego interest, it's nice to do something with that. But otherwise, I will see you in my next video.